Welcome into Paul Catalina's Top 5, brought to you by Texas Beef House. Go to bidonbeef.com. Use promo code 365sports at that next auction, and you can be winners like me and Jack are. And I have to have some feelings of winning since FSU's terrible. So winning the beef auction last week is what's going to carry me through. And I've got, Jack and I will split 10 pounds of hamburger between each other, and that's all the joy I need in my life. Not crying, you're crying. Anyway, problems that FSU and Clemson both have. Both these teams are suing the ACC. Both of them are winless on the season, a combined 0-3. Two of those losses live in Tallahassee. Only one of them lives in Clemson to this point. But there are some similarities between what's going on between the two programs. So first off, number 5, too much outside noise, loud noises when it comes to, do you guys really deserve to be in a bigger conference? Why are you doing this, the ACC? Your fans are too loud. Your administration's too obnoxious. All these different things. Not to mention, if you're, that's mostly for Florida State. Clemson's in that too. They're not as loud about the realignment thing, but, you're Dabo Sweeney. What about the portal? What about Tyler from Spartanburg? What about all these things that you're doing? And that's all there, and they've got to find a way to filter that down to where the outside noise is manageable. But right now, I don't think either of these programs can avoid it. Player for player, coach for coach. It's out there, it's loud, and you can try to ignore it and compartmentalize all you want, but it's not going away. Number 4, systems that fit the players they have. Garrett Riley came in, but the offense really stayed the same. Jimbo Fisher did this with Bobby Petrino a year ago and saw himself fired. Now, Dabo's not in danger of that, but it is foolish to bring in what you consider to be an offensive innovator and then let that innovator not do what innovates. He's just calling Dabo's plays. Well, that's not why you bring in Garrett Riley. If you want to call Dabo's plays, just promote somebody when you let Brandon Streeter go. That I don't understand. So Garrett Riley, who was, one of the hot names in coordinating, has been reduced to not being able to do what made him one of the hot names in coordinating. So that's not good. And on the Florida State side, they're trying to run the Jordan Travis offense with DJ Uiagalelei. Well, you don't need to be Bear Bryant to know that shit's not going to work. And I apologize for cursing in this, but it's just not going to. When you have two totally different players. DJU's limitations notwithstanding, it was foolish to think that they were similar quarterbacks in the first place. That is a huge mistake, and Mike Norvell has not built an offense, if he continues to want DJU to be the starting quarterback, that is going to protect DJU more. He's exposing him more than he needs to be based on what we've seen for the first 2 weeks. They're not playing to their strengths on offense. Number 3, how they build the roster. Say hi to Bob the Builder. Are you a Bob the Builder fan?
I like Bob the Builder.
Yeah.
That's the old school Bob, too.
Yeah. No,
Can we fix it?
Yes, we can.
Are you sure about that?
I don't know. I don't know. But let's start with Florida State. Florida State's been fantastic in the transfer portal. I'm going to start listing off guys that they've gotten through the portal. One of them without Norvell. That was Jordan Travis. He came in right before. But Jermaine Johnson, Jared Verse, Braden Fisk, Keon Coleman, Johnny Wilson, Jaheim Bell, Trey Benson, many others, all worked out for them. Offensive linemen, defensive linemen, you name it, worked out for them. Now, they've got a big whiff right now at quarterback with DJU, but is that the only problem that they whiffed on one transfer? No. The problem is that they haven't done well with high school recruiting. They are, in spite of the fact that they're a blue blood program and have usually recruited at a very high level, they're routinely outside the top 10 when it comes to that. They need to be a top 10 high school recruiting team. Now, let's go to the other side of that street. Very famously, Dabo Sweeney will not take any transfers at all. None, zip, zero, zilch. Won't do it. So, since he's not taking any transfers, That's what his problem is. His problem is not the high school players, although I will say I think that is starting to drop a little bit too, because as high school players see you not winning as much, you're going to lose on some of those guys. And those guys that came down to Clemson in Georgia 5 years ago are all going to Georgia now. We saw it the other day. The fact that you don't have Etienne's baby bro on your roster because you don't take transfers, very telling to me. One of your greatest players of the last decade has a little brother who's as talented. Nah, he didn't want to come here in the first place. So, again, they're both not building the roster completely the right way, and they're not building the rosters for long-term success. They're building the rosters for one lucky hit. Number two, do they have the best staff around them? For Clemson, I would say this is, are you letting the staff do what they're best at? And do you have the best people you can get, or do you have people that will agree with your philosophy in building a roster and running a program? Dabo. For Florida State, do you have the best recruiters that you can have? Do you have people that can go out and sell you to the best, with the best of the best? I'm not totally sure they have that, given how they've had these losses in recruiting. And if you'll notice, they're in to the end with a lot of these 4- and 5-star players. I'll just use Travis Hunter as an example. They had Travis Hunter until they woke up on signing day morning and Deion Sanders is like, come to Jackson State. And while normally that would have been a thing that would have never happened in the world, it happened. Travis Hunter's just one of several players that's happened to that they've thought that they're in a good shot with, and then right at the end, they get sniped. Well, why are they getting sniped? Is it just NIL? Because their battle's end is pretty good, so it's got to be something else that they're not selling that they need to sell a little bit better. And with Clemson, like I said, are they letting the staff, are they getting the best guys, or are they just getting the best guys who Dabo feels are in his circle? You know, sometimes you got to go outside for new, fresh perspective. So both of them maybe have that same problem, just a different iteration of it. And number one, quarterback play. DJU was a bust at Clemson. He was a bust at Florida State. And Cade Klubnik has been a bust to this point as well. He's, and that can be a lot of things. Maybe he's not playing in the great system. He doesn't have the playmakers, all these things. But their quarterback play is atrocious between the two of them. And you're not going to win. There's quarterbacks like Grayson McCall and Cam Ward and others I'd rather have in the ACC than they have Kyron Drones than they have right now. And that means you're probably not going to be, coasting off to Charlotte for the championship game automatically until you get that fixed. So while they're bitter enemies, they do have a lot in common, and they're both going to struggle until they fix these problems. It's just going to be this over and over and over again until they really clean that up. That's going to do it for the top five. We're wrapping it up right now.